Thank you, Heidi. We're here today with Ross Romano, who has 8 days left until the big election comes about for the provincial election coming up. Hi, Ross. How are you today?
Hello, I'm very good. Thank you, Colette. How are you?
I'm very well. Thanks for being here. It's so nice to actually have someone in the studio, and I really do appreciate you taking the time to do that. I know your schedule's extremely busy, and that's kind of what we're here to talk about. We want to know what's going on with your life for the next 8 days.
Well, it's been busy. We have knocked on 26,000 doors so far. We are about 3 days ahead of schedule, I think, based on our numbers. We've got a little over 6,000 left to go, and excited to be able to just continue chatting with everybody and connecting with voters and keeping on going.
I have a question for you, because I know the last few years, obviously we've been under COVID rule. What made you want to run again with all that? I mean, this is unprecedented, what has happened. You worked very closely next to the Premier. Your portfolio shows that. Ministry of Community in the colleges and universities. And recently you got a bump from that. So why would you want to run that again? What happened in the last few years that said, yeah, you know what, I'm in for this again?
Well, the biggest reason is that the work's not done yet. And, if I can go back to 5 years ago or even 7 years ago when I first decided to run for municipal politics, my goal was to make our community a community that our children would want to be home to stay in. And it's been a mantra, it's been a goal, it's been something that we've been striving for a very long time. My wife and I spoke about it when we adopted our 3 boys and said, we really want to make sure that our kids will want to stay in Sault Ste. Marie. And so the plan has always been to ensure that we can build that for our community. And if I go back now to 5 years ago when I first got elected as a member of the opposition, I look back, we couldn't even get a return phone call from the Liberal government at the day on trying to upgrade our roads. And within the first 6 months to a year, here we were, upgrading Black Road. We took care of Algoma Steel. If you look back to 5 years ago, Algoma Steel was 3 years into CCAA. You had 9,000 almost pensioners that were worried about the status of their pensions. Their pension plan had been left insolvent.
Yeah, as they should have been.
You had almost 3,000 workers worried about the status of their jobs. And Tenaris was a company that had been in a full year shutdown at that point and was only about 300 workers. You look at the investments we've made there. We have the EAF furnace now going in at Algoma Steel, which has secured Algoma for generations to come. You look at Tenaris, we brought the premium threading line from Calgary, Alberta to Sault Ste. Marie, and now they're almost 800 employees and growing. You can't turn your head in any direction in this city and not see construction happening somewhere in Sault Ste. Marie, whether it's houses, community centers, hospitals, long-term care homes. There's just so much building going on, and we've had over $1 billion in investments just in the last 4 years alone in our city.
Okay, I have a couple more questions for you, Russ. And what are some of the main platform key issues that you're running for this term here? And also, well, actually, I'll let you answer that question first.
Sure. Well, thanks. I think that the first platform issue, I think that's the most important, is we're the only party that is standing shoulder to shoulder with workers. We've gotten, as a party now, 7 endorsements from local labor unions. And, you look at the NDP as a party, they have not even mentioned the word labor once in their entire platform, not once.
And being an NDP,
they're really, they've changed, and I hear that a lot at the doors, that it's not the NDP of old. They've abandoned workers,
the blue collar,
and they've abandoned labor. And we are standing shoulder to shoulder with those workers who are building our province, quite literally building our province up. I think a second piece that's really important is that we're the only party putting money back in your pocket and removing unnecessary fees like license plate sticker fees. And we're ensuring that we're reducing the price of gas. So we have got a plan to reduce gas prices, reduce the tax on gas, whereas the NDP, they want to increase it by 35 to 50 cents a litre for Northern Ontario drivers. So, it's very, very critical that we put more money back in your pocket and that we make life more affordable. I think probably one of the other most critical pieces is, again, investing in our roads. We're the only party with a plan to invest $641 million in our northern roads and highways.
What have you guys learned, you guys as the PC party learned from the last few years? What are you most proud of that you came out of the pandemic to push us forward and to get us back to a regular state?
I think perhaps the most important thing is that we're the only party right now in this election with an actual plan to stay open. And that is very critical. If I look back to the start of this pandemic and I think about what happened, and you look at like the legacy that was left behind by the former NDP Liberal coalition, we literally, quite literally, when our premier walked into our warehouse, we had rotting masks. And when we were in our hour of darkest need, and we had an entire province looking for personal protective equipment and critical supplies and equipment, we had to spend $2 million just to clean out the warehouse from rotting, expired masks that were disintegrating on shelves. Wow. And our premier stood in front of this entire province every day at 1 p.m. And many will remember at the start when he stood there and said, never again will Ontario be beholden on any other jurisdiction when it comes to taking care of the most critical supplies and equipment that we need for our province. I look back and I think the most proud moment I have, and I was very fortunate to be in the role of Ministry of Government and Consumer Services.
Right. I apologize.
At the conclusion of to the present date, and we are now purchasing all of our critical supplies equipment and our personal protective equipment in Ontario, from Ontario.
Yes.
And that is something that I'm very proud of. We don't call China when we buy masks anymore.
That's right.
We're calling companies throughout Ontario, and we're buying our products from Ontario. We've gone from 37% purchases in Ontario to 94% in Ontario.
So thank you very much. Back to you, Heidi.